Hey, this is 2021, and it still feels like 2020 has, weird things still happen. And if, for history purpose, I'm talking about the insurrection of domestic terror by white supremacists on January 6th on the nation's capital. So, yeah, 2020 is here to stay. But beyond that, I hope everyone's having as good a New Year as possible, and they made it through the holidays with as much cheer or family or anything that just kept you comfort. Some people are hokey when it comes to those things, and some people are not. Some people really think of those things as super important. So, to those people, I wish you had a good holidays, and I wish everything went well. But beyond that, this is Lcsw, the podcast with me, Omar Green, Lcsw. And this is our first episode for 2020. We're keeping strong. And today I wanted to do an episode based on something I've always weirdly subconsciously felt like, and it's something that doesn't make sense, but it does. And it's what happens to your ability to be productive when you get more busy. And it's something that I've personally been through, and I think a lot of Americans and a lot of people have just been through during this past year of the pandemic, which is sort of weird to say that we've been through this horrible pandemic of COVID-19 for a year. I remember it, and hindsight's 2020, but I remember it being November of 2019, and a couple news stories of COVID-19 coming out, and even I, kind of, it's like, whatever. I didn't pay it the just due it was deserved. And then I remember things just ramping up over December and January, February, and getting more and more serious, and seeing more and more people be affected. And then it really ramping up into March and April and June, and even now still having such a severe effect on so many people, so many lives were lost. I think it's over 300,000 here in America, and I can only imagine what it was worldwide, and and it just highlighting the disparities for certain communities of Black people, of other people of color, or people who are not as fortunate or not as well off, and difficulty with everyone not being cooperative, safety measures. But one of the things that came out of that was the fact that I, with a lot of other people, was sent home to work. And, in a lot of ways, that was cool. Now, that has recently ended for me. I've gotten a new job. And I think that's why I'm making this podcast, because I am at a new space. But for a little while, I was working from home. I worked from home for 9 months. 9 months plus. And I did not leave my apartment. I went into my job one time, and that was because my laptop was broken. And I only went in to stay home, so I didn't have to go into the office, because they were my job. Shout out to them. My former job at Optimus was cool, but they weren't that cool in terms of being able to send me home and making sure that I could work from home. But I noticed immediately when I was working from home that in some ways it was cool because I was home, I was by myself, I was to myself. And honestly, some people, they need that that company. They want that, that water cooler talk. They want that, oh, how was your drive? How was your kids? And I'm fine without it. Like, I'm someone that I'm at a peace. I'm in a space where I'm at a peace. I have my colleagues, I have my friends, I have, my significant other, I have my family. And I can just, when it's time to work, put something TV on in the background, which I miss, sort of, and just go to work. And not care about what is out there in terms of other people. At first it was a little lonely, I'm not gonna lie. It was you had that feeling like, oh man, it's just me, and because like you take so many things for granted, like even the face-to-face contact with anyone, with I don't know, when I was at Charter Oak, I used to talk to this dude at Walgreens, and we were both gamers, and that was cool. If you talk to a coworker from another department, that was cool. And so, you really start to miss some of those things. But weirdly enough, I was able to get past that, and after a while, it just be okay, and not really get too caught up in what that was. And I don't know, it was just more of a peaceful thing. Like as long as I had the, as long as I had the music in the background, a peaceful place, a nice chair, I was good to go. And I had all those things. I had a nice chair. I had a nice space. I was, I'm fortunate to have that. I was fortunate to be to myself. Didn't have kids to worry about, anything like that. So, and I realized all those things are just, things to be fortunate. Not everybody has, that. And so, in terms of being to myself, honestly, it didn't dawn to me. And I know there's some people that work like that all the time. And so that wasn't the issue. But in terms of the urgency, and that relating to me being productive, I did notice something. No, I still at the end of the day got my job, done. And I don't know why I need to qualify that, but if that's sort of insecurity, like I'm gonna tell you how lazy I am, so on some level tell you like how not good work I am. I moved up in my profession, and Even at my current job, I was being looked at for the exact same job. And so it was definitely, me continuing to push myself. But I could notice that, when it came to grooming, when it came to just getting everything all ready, it was strange. In fact, that one time I went in to get my laptop, or the couple times I went in to do an interview, and I had to get all the way dressed, like everything on. It was a little weird. Like once you roll out of bed in your sweatpants for like 9 months, you're kind of get used to just doing that, and so it wasn't just that, it wasn't just that, but like I said, it just was a feeling of being like not productive, not getting the most out of your day, which in some weird way, like I feel like I'm getting more. I can argue against that now because my position is very active, and I don't have the free time to like do X, Y, Z now. And so, yeah, so I think I want to focus on that. Like, if being more busy, of having a more full and active schedule in a weird way makes you more productive. And so, I don't know, I kind of can see both sides. Like, I can kind of see in some ways where, even for this 1 week, I've been more productive. I've been able to get up earlier. I'm more serious by the time I do have. But I do miss those times where I could just walk out and just, if my patient was missing, I had a no-show, I could take a little extra time to do X, Y, and Z, and now that's going to be a little more difficult in terms of the position I have and everything that sort of comes with it. And so, I wanted to sort of focus on that because, it's this constant sort of push and pull that I see, and especially with this, even this podcast, I want to try to see if I can push myself to do 2 episodes per month instead of just doing 1 episode per month. I realize it's going to be a challenge now because of that, and I'm going to have to be more serious because I have less time to physically put to actually getting any of this stuff done. And I know that I have to be more calculated about the time and more serious about the time. But I think that sense of urgency pushes you to do things, and so I've done some research because I didn't want to just be me talking about what I feel, but I do want to kind of go in a second, B and C. How we do. We have our little 20-minute clips here that we put into one long hour episode. Although honestly, I might try to do the full 60. I don't know if it's like a term they catch on to do a full 60, but I will actually try to do that. But for now, I'm just going to do 20-minute clips. But yeah, even now, like I'm up early, I'm doing my podcast, I'm making sure it's getting done. I'm almost like pushing myself to do that. So does being busy make you productive? Question mark, question mark. To go over the first one, it feels like, he says, like, some studies say that when you go to bed earlier and you wake up earlier, you should basically have better sleep, you have a more positive outlook. And I can kind of say that. Like, I do have, I don't want to say, I wouldn't say the word positive. I'm more spirited. Especially because I rededicate myself to going out. I rededicate myself to being to working out and to taking health seriously. And I do that I do it 6 days a week. When I come to work, I've already been up. Like, I wake up like I start to wake up 1-ish, and I'm all the way up by 4 a.m. And so I'm working out, I'm doing what I do. By the time I walk in the door, I've already worked out, ate, drank my water, which I should gotta go fill. I'll probably do that as a 20-minute clip. I always got like so much stuff to do. So walked, drank my water, did my workout meal, watched a little TV, researched for the day, as I'm always researching different groups to do, and went from there. And by the time I get into work, I'm not, everyone's like, oh, grog, like, coming in this morning, another day, and I'm kind of like, hey, the only thing I can't wait to be over is for me to move back closer so that, like, my commute's like 15-minute versus the 25-minute commute. That is the only part that's a little bit deflating. I'm like, the highway again. But I did it somewhere else almost for a year, and I went to Bridgeport, and trust me, Bridgeport, going from where I'm at now and Meriden to Bridgeport is like a 35-minute, sometimes 40-minute drive, and it was no joke. It was serious every single day that I did it, but I did it, and I made it happen. So I do think you have more positive energy. I do think, you're more spirited. You're more creative, because you still want to get whatever you want to get done. And I am getting done, like, in terms of working out, in terms of doing the podcast, in terms of pursuing other things personally in my life. You're doing the things for the sort of the Black Lives Matter movement. That's what I involve myself in. I'm still finding ways to get things done. And I feel like, that energy arguably is one of the more important things. The energy and the ability to find a way beyond the barriers. Hello. So welcome to part 2 of this episode. And we were talking about the benefits of being actually more busy, getting yourself into more and more activities, which is sort of ironic because I was just looking at my email about something that I won't say I forgot, but I didn't think I would still be included in. As I've sort of really put myself into more and more activities to kind of focus myself, and Right now I'm not living in the area I want to be in, but as soon as I do move, I can see myself being even in more activities as a way just to kind of put myself in positive spaces. And so, I found this list. It's a little, I don't know, it's a little cheat to kind of do this trivial random list. Usually I kind of go deeper than that, but I want to kind of go through this list. Good. I think a lot of stuff does relate to it. One thing they said is more energy. And that's huge. And the way they describe it is it's very true. The more you use in terms of like energy that you need to wake up and work out, the more your body just gets used to exerting it. I live in times where I felt like super lethargic just because I haven't done anything, and I'm for a while. And even the past weekend, I did not do anything for the weekend. And when I finally got up and started moving and doing whatever I was doing, it just felt like it took like so much more energy, because it was so weird, because you get so comfortable in bed, you get you get sleepy, and it becomes almost easy. So I do think one of the benefits of being busy is that you get more energy. And to put it out there, I'm not some like type A, full of energy type of guy. I'm a very easygoing, slow-paced type of dude, chill dude. And even I, gain from that. I gain from having more and more activity. And I think a lot of these things sort of fall into each other. So one thing they kind of mentioned when I was getting busy is the fact that, you sleep earlier, ironically. Because when you're busier, you're exhausted. You're mentally exhausted. Sometimes you're physically exhausted. And you just want to go to sleep. You just want to, actually, fall asleep earlier. And so therefore, even though the list isn't about this directly, you gain from having better sleep. And there's so much gains of being more focused, of getting up earlier so you can do more. And so, when you're busier, your sleep improves. And so that's huge. One of the huge things I do, because I go to sleep, because that's also on this list, is there's more time to exercise. And I know that I really am into exercise. And that's something that helps in terms of just my health. That's something that helps with my mood. It is, it's sort of like my time just to be to myself, and I know I use it on a regular basis to sort of get the most out of the day. And so the fact that being more busy in the daytime, exercise and work and whatever else you're doing, it helps to sort of lead to better sleep, and lead for working out. And I would say something. I don't know if it's going to meditate on this. It also helps to build certain communities. You know, there's so many people I've met from going to the gym or doing improv or doing anything else. You're into all these little communities, and you build relationships there. You know, like it was from being around these communities. It helped me to sort of find some of the people that I would consider some of my closest friends today. And so I think, it's more time to work out, or more time to just do whatever passion. Like there was one guy who's a famous YouTuber now that woke up super early before work and like did nothing but rebuild cars early in the morning. And, that was his passion. And he actually has to sacrifice to do that. And make sure that, he could continue to sort of live his life. But whatever your passion is, you get to sort of spend more time in it, because you're being efficient with your rest, efficient with your, and you get to have something to talk about, something to sort of build toward. You don't have to have like awkward silences about what you're going to talk about or what is going to be the thing that you're going to focus on. And so I really think that keeping yourself busy does that. And even though it's meant as just working out, I would say it can be used for almost any hobby there. Another thing that I'll skip over 5 because it's what just 6 sort of relates to something I just talked about. Talk about working out. One thing is usually eating healthier, which is sort of ironic. Because, I'm at a new job and it keeps me super busy. And I actually eat less and I eat lighter because I have to be light on my feet. I have to be willing to go one place and go another place. And so I can say because my job is someone that keeps me busy, it's I eat healthier because I'm doing something. Like at times people become idle, and even as a therapist, once we do that when you're sort of assessing depression, is that when someone starts to experience one symptom, they experience others. And so sometimes people will, binge eat as an activity. Not because they're hungry, not because they want something to eat, just because something to do. And, when you're doing things, you have less time to eat. And so you can actually focus on doing those positive things and sort of avoid or evade sort of that chance of overeating and doing that. So your portion size goes down, the amount of time you eat goes down, and honestly even what you eat changes, because you want to be able to do all those things. You want to be, especially when you're older, to continue to do everything and be as active as you want to be. You want to be able to actually continue on. And so it's weird, like how this sort of relates to working out, because even now I think of what I do, I work out I drink a cup of coffee, and that's it. And after I'm working out, I eat a certain amount when I'm home before I go to work. But even then, it's a light amount. That's not anything crazy because I know that I have to be ready to go to work and ready to, not have anything hold me down when I'm there. Nothing feels, worse when you order that huge sandwich or a huge meal, you scarf it down, and now you got to walk up and down the hall. You really just want to, sleep or, get itis or something like that. So I really think they relate so well in terms of that. And so, yeah, that's why I kind of skipped it. Or skipped one. The one I did skip, it was another reason. It was being more organized. And I couldn't agree more. One thing that comes from having business is that you need certain things, right? You need certain equipment, clothes, materials, you prepare. And so in order to do different things, you need to organize your space to actually do those things. You need to go out of your way and prepare to organize the space. You need to actually try to make sure things are done in a certain way so that, you plan. And I do that now. Now, especially now that I'm, working in a space, not just from home. But even when I was working from home, I would set up my office space to make it conducive for where I was going to work. So if I needed to have my laptop ready, my work phone ready, all those stuff ready. Now if I need to have my, my notepad ready, my work clothes ready, my gym clothes ready, all that's done prior, and I know where everything is, and I know how to get to it quickly. And, not to say that if I wasn't busy, I wouldn't do that, but you're not as inclined to do that. I know that when I'm having my lazy days, I don't care what anything is. And I can just be like, whatever, it's over there, it's over here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. And I think a lot of people don't care either. And so I feel that especially, someone that's never had a super huge apartment. My first apartment was small. This apartment is cool. It's okay size. It's nice. It's roomy enough. And wherever I'm gonna be, I want to be a little bigger than this. It's, you don't have space to toss everything anywhere. Things can get lost in things, and things can easily sort of hide away in certain things. And not having that problem is a huge time saver. Because, when you're busy and you're doing all those things, you don't have time to actually do that. It's like, all these things that, we're talking about, and just building up to successfully complete that task on a regular basis. And it becomes such a way of life that even away from it, if you're doing anything else, you just become used to being organized, having energy, planning time ahead. And it is just an overall help. Plus, once your place is organized, it's already organized, so you don't have to do as much cleaning when it comes to whatever your clean day is. So, huge one on not organized. And it's weird. I would say, I've always lived in a small space, whether it's living with a roommate or living, at my parents' house or my first apartment, and I didn't have a lot of space. I didn't, and so I could not afford to, be disorganized, and so it pushed me to always be organized, and I saw so much benefit that now, I just love like IKEA and all the other spaces that easily help me, get access to all my things. You know, and not to kind of flip the conversation and make it all about organization, but as I said before, you become more busy, you want to be more organized because you need things fast. You don't need things. You don't need things that take a long time because you wake up, you have limited time to get ready to get to the first activity and the second and the third and the fourth. And so because of that, you don't have a lot of multiples, I don't want to say you're minimalist, but you kind of going in that direction. You had too much of too many things. It becomes an issue in terms of where things are. And so, talking about IKEA and other organizations, right, it even, reduces the things I have. Because I'm like, no, I need just to know where that thing is. I can't have, like, for instance, like, if I had too many shoes for running, like, then, all right, what shoes am I getting? Versus, like, no, that's the running shoe, it's right there. Let me just go rock with that. So, yeah, organization is huge when it comes to living I don't know, I want to say, I've been saying busy this whole podcast, but I feel like that's, even when I say it, it has like a somewhat negative slant to it. And I don't know if it's productive. And when you're productive, you're having fun. When you're productive, you're getting things done. When you're productive, you are impressing yourself, and saying, look at what I'm doing. And I feel like there's such a gratifying feeling from that. It's the things that you put yourself into should be things that you're passionate about, things that you want to get done. And you don't need to have all the accolades and, all the clamor and praise and adulation in the world. You can just do it because you want to do it. And start and learn. And honestly, part of the journey is to learn. And I think that's another thing from being busy. To keep the mind active, to learn, and to challenge yourself constantly. Because all of this is about keeping yourself fit so that when challenges come, you feel prepared, you feel ready, you don't feel overwhelmed. You can easily let things go because you've had to let things go, to sacrifice. You've had to make compromises to maintain this lifestyle. So I don't know if I'll say it again, but let's say productive. I'll catch you on the other side of the break. Bye. Hey, so this is the last part of the podcast, and I wanted to talk about maybe the downsides of being busy. You talk about the upsides of being more focused, of creating a sense of urgency in the sense of that, when you're moving and having momentum, you already feel like, you're doing something, and it helps you do something else. And, it's weird because, like, I used to see other people do that when they were older. You see, like, my mom and other people just go in terms of trying to get everything done on one go. And I'm like, man, why don't you just do one thing and stop? But as you get older, you realize that, it takes a lot to sort of get out of your own way and get going. And so it's like, if you can find that contiguous sort of block to do things, you use it. You use the energy from doing one thing and you jump right into the next. And there's a sense of, like, importance. Even with this, podcast, I might not make it because I only got 7 days left, but I'm trying to do two. I'm trying to do two a month. I'm trying to step it up for this podcast. And, it creates a sense of urgency because I think to myself, like, man, I'm busy, but I just can't wait to actually, come in and do this. And so the time that I may have spent tooling around, I spend doing other things. And I find, even now I'm looking for more efficient ways of doing that. Like, even last night I was coming from work and, now that I am into the world and I'm not, like, just in my home in my pajamas doing work anymore, I am, realizing, like, all right, I don't have much time to, like, go grocery shopping, or even, like, there's some sense of, like, driving fatigue that, like, I don't want to do a whole trip just for grocery shopping. I'm like, I'm already in the area, and in my area in Connecticut, I, live far from, like, any real, I guess, I don't know if it's organic or natural grocer, like a Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. Even, I guess you could really loosely put them in that world. A place like Stu Leonard's isn't close. Although, nowadays when it comes to natural groceries, you can find stuff anywhere. But, back to the point, like, it made me, me not wanting to go out of my way, made me try to figure out a way to get it done. And even though I didn't do it that day, in the future, I would definitely find a way to sort of make that process easier and smoother because, I just don't have time, and I'm focused on doing other things, and I'm and I really want to do well with this new job, so I'm really, like, putting extra time in to, either when I'm there or even when I'm at home. I was studying today to make sure. So it creates a sense of urgency, like, to do other stuff. You can't wait to jump into the other thing that you wanted to do with, this podcast. Like, I want to do two, and I want to put out more content. And heck, one day I want to even maybe try a video. Maybe I'll put that as, like, an end of year goal. I have actually, weirdly enough, I have a colleague who started with video. I'll put that as an end of year goal. That, like, December, if I'm still doing this, that I would rather do, like, a video. But yeah, that sense of urgency, that sense of passion, that sense of anticipation, that that it's on your mind and you just can't wait to do something. Where, I don't know, weirdly enough, when you have all the time to do something and you can do it at any time, it doesn't feel as special. It doesn't feel as, like, a priority, and it kind of can just sort of slip. You're gonna be like, all right, well, I can do it tomorrow. I can do it next day. I can do it that day. Where it's like, no, oh crap, I have to do it by this day. So, we talk about that. We talk about, like, some of the upsides of it, but there are downsides. Having especially in the space I work, and not, I love, and I'm appreciative and I'm totally grateful for the place I work. And I appreciate all the staff. But, it really, I think as a social worker, we are a class of workers that are sometimes overworked. I have to do a lot of things in terms of visits and documentation and not a lot of time. And to have a consistent pace of production. And that can be tough. That can be really tough to keep up to. And, in my previous job, I kept it well. Actually, because I do concurrent documentation, I kept up to it well. But even if I kept it well, there were moments that were kind of trying. I would have like 2 intakes a day and all these notes I have to write for my sessions. And it was a little much, and in this line of work, I think, it's, the thing is that you don't have no-shows. And I think, weirdly enough, and it's weird because, like, I'm in a managerial position now, but weirdly enough, like, there's so many things. I was a manager here now, but when I was not in that position, I think sometimes administrators and management would sort of magically have some magical thinking a little bit and like incorporate that into your clerical time, which is your time to do paperwork, do like, I don't know, like someone's saga, someone's disability paperwork, or some other paperwork related to your treatment and what they can benefit from it on the outside. And they sort of say, hey, man, well, you have a couple of no-shows, well, that's your time. But you can't, In a world where you have, telehealth, you can't always count on that. But I guess you still kind of can. But you can't always count on that. But here, and there's some times where like everything's done for the day, and even then, I'm gonna step it up into the doing rounds and just going in everyone's room and seeing how they're doing. But when you do have stuff to do, there is no such thing as a no-show because like the patients live there. You know what I mean? The no-show is like the person's sleep, and they just don't want to do the appointment. That's your only out of that appointment. And so you're always doing stuff. You're always on a breakneck speed, especially when I'm learning, I'm onboarding. And you're like, man, like that time I could just sort of repurpose this sort of unexpected, but there's a high probability chance that will be their time to do something else. It's no longer there. And now I have to be even more creative about the limited time I have, especially as someone that likes to do things and likes to have like other interests. And honestly, I think they sort of feed each other. I feel like my interests outside myself help me become a better therapist because they keep me like, interested. They keep me active, and they keep me excited about things, which then gets me excited sort of in general. To do, whatever it is that I want to do. And so, I think that's something, too, that's a challenge when you get more busy. And that's something I work on. Keeping up personal relationships. I know keeping my friends, and I think that's going to get better. I think it's just like with onboarding, it takes extra time. Because not only are you doing assignments and I'm already doing stuff, I'm learning. And I'm getting it down more and more and more. But I don't have everything. I have some stuff, but I don't have everything. And so, there's still going to be some times where I need to learn things or do things. And I, and I'm going to take that time. And that time takes away from time to talk to people and be with people. and so forth. And so it's going, and then even just stuff outside, like I'm fortunate that I am, an upstanding member of society, and I'm in good standing legally, and that I haven't got caught up in our criminal justice system that's flawed and racist. So I even give myself even a more pat on the back for escaping or not getting entangled in that. But what if I had something with that? What if what if I had some issue in my life that was complicated and took me and made it hard to do certain things? And honestly, not legally, but in other ways, for my family, I kind of do. And all those things complicate your time there because your time is the primary focus, but you still have these other things that sort of influence you. And so, there's downsides, but I think the downsides will only be temporary. I'll learn more and I'll get used to the schedule and I'll get more active. And I think the more you get active, it's contagious. You just want to do more and more and more. And so, I'm glad I'm busy. I'm glad I'm active. And we're not out of the pandemic completely. I haven't got my first shot of vaccine, and I'm, the numbers for the United States, the numbers globally are just horrible. And it's weird how this thing that is terrifying, and still is terrifying, it's almost like a new normal, and we try to find joy even, as it's happening with each other and with our communities, and I hope everybody out there that's listening to this is doing well. But, it's something that, as much as you try to find joy in it, it's something to consider as well. That, that you have limited capabilities of going out and being fully immersed in the community because of the pandemic. So there's a lot of things to sort of think about, that you can't completely dedicate your time to because you're more busy. But I think that in the end, it's an energy builder. It builds community, and I can't wait to do more. Whether it's with this podcast, whether it's just another ventures that I want to do, whether it's just with people and building communities. I see so many possibilities because, and I see, my ideas as just being things to sort of reach out to and see, and it's amazing to even get callbacks, to even get any type of response. That things can happen. So, I really appreciate sort of having the time to be active. Especially because, when I see people, and it's weird, sometimes I say that my patients are not inspiration, like they really inspire you to sort of see life, because they, you don't live life with them, but they're talking to you about what they went through, and you can get even a snapshot, and the appreciation of being able to do simple things that we take for granted, like walk or run or have my own freedom to go wherever I want when I want to go there. It's so underrated, and people take it for granted, and that's a shame, because I feel that at times, we don't get to realize the miracle or the minor miracle that we do every day, as we sort of figure out life and try to be productive and fill life with things that give us joy and a sense of accomplishment, and make the days that we do have the best, because they're limited. We don't have all infinity days, but we have all the chance and opportunity, barring some factors, to try to make that time worth it. So, that's one last part. I am appreciative of anyone who listens to the podcast. I will I'm on a whole bunch of listening platforms. I use the Anchor app. I will maybe start socials, just to have some socials there. So therefore, whenever it does build up, there's things there. But until then, listen to podcasts. Live your life, fill it with passion. And until next time, breathe easy. All right.